change layout.
Carly doesn't have on her camera though.
I do. Can you hear me?
I can hear you for sure.
I'm like frozen with the worst face ever. it's ridiculous. I hate it.
So Carly, turn off your camera and turn it back on.
Alrighty. You ready for my emoji? That's my son. Promise it's not mine. All right, let's see. Awesome, it's not working at all. Yes.
Cool.
There she is.
All right, there we go. All right, well, welcome everybody. This is the Marine City High School classroom. I've got my corral here. We're sitting socially distanced as we could be. And Joe, can you say hello?
Yes, hello. Hi, guys.
Yeah, this is Joe Santoni. He is joining us today as a special guest artist. And we're going to do some visiting and some talking about music and singing, and because that's, important stuff to talk about. And Carly, can you say hello?
Hello. I don't know why, but hi, I'm here. Yeah.
All right. Carly is joining. She's my connection to Joe. She's how I know Joe. He was in Carly's high school choir at Port Huron Northern High School. And I tell my students that I remember Joe doing voice lessons in the basement. Joe, do you remember those days?
Oh, those were the days, yes.
Those were the days. Awesome. And then Dave Simpson, the gentleman in the glasses. Hey, Dave. Dave is joining us. He's our Performing Arts Center manager. And Dave is just such a good sport. He's our concert manager when we're at the Performing Arts Center. And he's agreed to work on the virtual aspect because, pandemic times and our choir, our singing world is a little different than usual. So Joe gets to work with Disney technology people, and Dave is doing his best to fill that role. I don't know if that's an unfair side-by-side comparison.
Well,
there.
Disney, you got that much money.
Anyway. Let's get our conversations started. And I think, Joe, we've watched some of the recent Dcappella videos.
Oh, great. Very interesting.
I
Cool.
had the nun intro playing a minute ago as we were getting this.
You poor traumatized people.
Yeah, they said it was scary.
That stuff's creepy. I don't even like to listen to it unless I'm like in a well-lit room. So.
Yeah, it is kind of. Got a certain sound to it. Maybe an easy way to start this is it okay to just ask you to introduce yourself, like just highlight a couple quick things, like a little 60 seconds. This is Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Joe Santoni, a previous student of Carly Van Dyke at Port Huron Northern High School. I moved out to LA to pursue singing professionally, and after 3.5 years of auditioning, I found Dcappella on a nationwide call, joined it, and now I am officially the bass of Dcappella, and we have been a group for now 2.5, almost 3 years. We have three albums out, and then a record out, and then we've been on 2 national and 1 international tour. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, what's a quick way? Because remember, we're recording this and sharing it with other classes. And so if somebody's sitting in and just listening to our conversation, what's a quick way for people to track down your work or to find you guys?
So we have a website, dcappellalive.com, but that's never really up to date. I feel like websites really aren't a thing anymore. So you have social media. So Dcappella Music, at Dcappella Music on Instagram and Facebook. And then my handle is going to be at Joe Santoni, which thank you to all of you who have been forced to follow me.
Yes, we've added some followers.
Yes, I appreciate it. So yeah, those are going to be the best way to get a hold of me. And you can direct message me anytime with any questions that you have after this if you come up with any.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Well, let's start the conversation then. I've got a couple questions here from some students, and we're going to do live questions from our students who are in the class right now.
Okay.
Let's start with a couple on my list here. I've got Brian from second hour would like to know, Joe, do you have any pets?
Brian, no, sadly, I really freaking want a dog. But I just moved into a new home, so hopefully that can happen. But going on tour, it doesn't really, they don't really add up, unfortunately, because I can never be home for the pup. So I'm trying to like pawn it off to my dad, hopefully in the future for when I'm gone.
Yeah, it's very hard. You got to be responsible if you're going to have a dog, and you don't want to leave them alone all the time.
Indeed.
So Silas from Second Hour would like to know, what's the craziest song that you've had to work on?
The craziest. So we did. I'm too young for this. I know even probably Carly and Bert are too young for this. But there was this thing called the Silly Symphonies done by Disney back in the day. And there was this song called the Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf, the Big Bad Wolf, that song.
Yeah.
Now, we did a arrangement of that. Deke Sharon did an arrangement of that, which was a full orchestral breakdown into vocal harmony and vocal parts. And so we did that live only. We never recorded it. But just making some of the wackiest noises and, like I was doing the character voice of the wolf, and then all the background parts were being sung by 5 of the other members, and then the 3 little pigs were the soprano, alto, and mezzo-soprano, and then we were mimicking even the footsteps. Like the beatboxer was doing everything from the footsteps to the door like slamming, because we had the video up on the what do we call it, the LED screen.
Okay.
And we were just singing along to it, so the music was muted, and then we were the sound effects and the music, and it was absolutely hard. I cried maybe 3 times trying to learn that song. And
and to keep the timing, because you guys got to sync with the video while you're watching it. Is that?
And thank God we have click in our ears
Okay.
to help us like match up with the rhythm. But aside from that, it's not like we had pitch in our ears or anything else to lend us any help. So yeah, that was a doozer for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That brings up another question, because for our listeners who are tuning in, part of what sparked this idea for us to have this conversation is I saw Dcappella's release recently of the Nightmare Before Christmas medley.
Mm-hmm.
And I have students who are working on a medley of that music, and we're trying to produce a virtual performance of it.
Oh, that's sick. Cool. What?
Yeah. So then I saw yours, and I was like, Joe, did you guys do this virtual? And you're like, yeah. So I'm like, we got to talk about this. But one of my kids wanted to know, I thought it was a very astute question.
Mm-hmm.
We watched your track, and then
Sure.
we don't see you wearing headphones or anything to lock in tempo. So how does
You're
that?
not supposed to notice those things, Bert.
Well, I didn't. But one of my students was really bright, because we're all going to be wearing headphones, listening to a track, so we are in sync with each other.
Yes, of course. And so for that one, that was supposed to be more of a music video than a live at-home performance. And so because all we have at our disposal for a music video is backdrops, because we can't get in person and create an actual video, we had to just make it look like it was a home video, even though it was it was a music video. The ones that we've done from home that have been live, we did a version of Friend Like Me, and then The World That's Mi Familia from Coco, Friend Like Me from Aladdin. But that one, yeah, that's why we didn't have ears in, because we were just lip syncing to track.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll help clear that up.
Sorry to ruin all of the magic.
Well, I think it's okay for people to know what goes on behind the curtain, how things are really, really produced.
Yeah. But, for that one, maybe the last 5 or 6 tracks we've done, and there's plenty more that we haven't released, that we've recorded from home. Like I just said, have been recorded from home. So that one, it was just me in my basement in front of this professional microphone, going to town on my part, and I recorded it in sections. I talked to Bert and Carly about this yesterday. So we get the music arranged by Deke Sharon, and Deke Sharon is the guy who arranged all the music for the Pitch Perfect movies. And they call him the godfather of modern acapella, or at least he likes to call himself that.
I don't think that's unfair. I mean, I've got stuff in my music library that he's arranged. Like he's been doing that work for a long time.
He has, and he's still a young guy. I mean, he's only like 50 years old. And to be called the godfather of modern acapella, it's quite a title. So anyway, we get all of the parts, and then we go home. and we record it section by section. So I like to, break it up into number, what are they called? Letter. Rehearsal letters.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I'll be like, okay, I'm going to record A through F, and then I'll be like, section 1, take 1. And then I'll record 3 takes of each section, and then they can pick and choose which is their favorite take. And I'll do one with like, more dynamics in a certain one. I'll back off on another one. I'll give it like a really heavy go on one because I want to give them all the options so that they can find the best mood or feel for that specific song. So for Nightmare, that was just like low, growly bass because I wanted to come off as creepy and menacing and dark as possible. So, yeah.
You did.
There's a lot of
you did. Huh? All right. I said you did. You were totally dark and creepy and all of that. Yeah. Mission accomplished. Yeah.
Thank you.
What about this is way off the map now. Second hour, Quaid would like to know, what's your favorite Disney movie? I don't know if you're able to answer that.
Oh, Lord. I have been asked this question so many times and I answer it different every single time. So my favorite Pixar Disney movie, I'd like to separate the two because I think Pixar has its own entity. Is Up. I think Up is the most emotional I've ever gotten in the first 15 minutes of a movie ever. And then for Disney movie, it's between Fox and the Hound, and I absolutely love Pocahontas because I love Judy Kuhn, who is the voice, the singer for Pocahontas. I think she's the most beautiful Disney princess voice ever.
Wow, great answers. That's awesome. All right. Students, what do you guys want to say to Joe? What you got? Comments, questions? Let's open it up for you guys. So I'm not just reading off a list. Chris has got something.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. How many hours a week do you have to sing?
How many hours a week do I have to sing? Well, it depends on my workload, honestly. Because generally, when we're sent songs, it's generally in bulk. So I have 2 songs on the docket right now for some, I'm not going to announce project, but it's generally 2 to 3 songs that we get at a time. So I would say I probably sing about, I don't know, depending on the week, 2 to 3 hours a day. So my voice is tired.
But that's 2 to 3 hours a day of working on the repertoire?
Of a busy work week, yes. And then if not, I'll squelch around the home every once in a while. A shower and give it my full gusto.
Do you do a particular warm-up? One of the students want to know, do you have a warm-up routine before you start recording?
I do a lot of lip trills. I think lip trills is one of the best ways. I think it's not only is it a great warm-up, but it's also a healing warm-up. I think that it can really help your vocal cords lubricate. But then, I just, go on the scales on different vowels. But I don't mean to hurt all the choir directors across the world or vocal coaches, but I'm not a huge warmer upper. Because generally what I'm doing is singing in the gutter. So I'm going to be relishing in the fact that I haven't warmed up yet, because those are going to be the times when I have my lowest notes, and generally that's what Dcappella wants, unless I'm doing a solo, and then I'll truly warm up.
Sure. I've noticed that throughout the day as I'm working with students. I use my voice a lot. It sort of shifts. I definitely have the lower notes in the morning as compared with in the afternoon.
Oh yeah. And so when Deke has us in the studio, generally, I will always go first. The rhythm section will go first. So it'll be beatboxer and then me. And then we can lay the foundation. But because it's, the morning, it's best for me because I have, my low, growly burps.
Right. All right, what else you guys got?
Go for it. Literally ask anything.
And he said you can ask anything. Sean. I made Sean raise his hand.
All right, Sean.
What is your lowest note?
My lowest note that I've ever recorded was a low F sharp 1, and that would be beneath the low bass C, and that was in Speechless from the live action Aladdin. And then the lowest note on any given day would generally be an A flat, but sometimes I can get a G out, depending.
What did you have to do on the end of this Moana solo?
That was a low G1.
Okay.
The stone editing God, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a low G, and that one was a lot of fun. There's actually we have like behind the scenes shots of like us in the studio, and there's a video of me literally recording that part as is, and you can see me do it in the bus, not in the bus, but you know what I mean. Yes, Carly.
Joseph.
Sorry. I'm good.
We'll just say that means
I'm sweating.
In the studio, yeah, under normal circumstances. All right, what else you guys got? I wrote down some of the ones you said the other day. Maybe if I do some of those, it'll get your brain going a little bit.
Yeah, literally, I ask me anything about tour, ask me anything about our discography, ask me anything about the Disney catalog, ask me like whatever you freaking want. Vocal technique.
All right, here we go. Scout from 6th Hour would like to know, what was the audition process like when you auditioned for Dcappella?
Great question. And I'm going to give a long-winded answer because I feel like it's better suited that way. So after moving out to LA, it took me about 3.5 years to come across an audition that was truly like, that was this. I was bartending for the first 3 years of me being out in LA from place to place, being in the hospitality industry. And I first auditioned for a thing called Dcappella. Don't judge me. So Dcappella, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, was essentially, and I'm embarrassed to say so, the Chippendales of Acapella. Now, hear me out. I swear it was a very good platform for me to get into the music world. The music director for Dcappella was a guy named Michael Alfera, and because of Michael Alfera, I got into a professional choral group called the LA Choral Lab, who is now up for 3 Grammy nominations. We have an album that just came out, and because of them, I met some of the biggest session singers. And if you aren't aware what session singers are, they are the people that are doing the background vocals on any kind of movie or anime voiceover, or just the chorus sections of any film that you might
Right.
And then voiceover actors as well. And so because of them, Ben Bram, and if any of you are familiar with Ben Bram, he is the arranger for Pentatonics, was in that choir. And he hooked me up with Tim Davis, and Tim Davis was the co-producer and music director, just the music director of Glee. I ended up getting an audition for Pentatonics after Avi left the group, and I was in the top 7 to become the next bass of Pentatonics. That didn't go through, and obviously I was defeated after that. And then I continued to bartend until there's these websites called like Backstage.com and Actors Access out in the LA, New York area. I think they're anywhere across the nation, but that's where they're primarily located. I found this audition for a Disney Acappella group on Backstage.com, and I was like, there's no way in heck that I'm going to get this gig. And so it was literally the day before a submission, and I had told my dad about this, and he was like, Joe, if you don't go for this, then what are you doing? Because this is everything that you could ever want. You love acapella, you love Pentatonics, you went to college for choir and vocal performance and opera, and like you want to sing professionally. What are you doing? And so it was an hour before the submission date, or due date, and I went for it. And 5 rounds of auditions later, I ended up getting it, and there was 1,500 submissions across the nation. And we got into the studio after being told that we got the job and recorded our first album in 7 days. And
wow.
It was the most strenuous process, but it was also very rewarding, and we shot 3 music videos as well.
Wow, what a great story.
Yeah.
That is so fun. And even though like the first group that you auditioned for, like maybe you kind of knew, you're like, this isn't the long-term, big this isn't my future here, but doing that gig opened some doors and got you some connections.
A million, yeah. And connections are key, especially out in New York and LA. You need to know people. And so getting your foot in the door in any way that you possibly can, be it embarrassing a cappella groups called Dcappella, it's worthwhile. It truly is. And then also just constantly putting yourself out there, never giving up, never, be, what's the word that I'm looking for? Be down on yourself. And as much as it took me 3.5 years, in those 3.5 years, I was constantly making new friendships and new connections that helped me get to where I am today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. I didn't put a name with this one, so whoever's question this is, I'm sorry. Was Dcappella, was doing something like Dcappella your dream from childhood?
I wouldn't say from childhood, because I didn't even know I could sing until I joined high school choir.
So for real, was high school choir like the start of that journey for you?
High school, well, you know Mr. Blue from West Middle School back in the day?
I do.
Okay. So Mr. Blue, I joined middle school choir because you know how you have to choose either band or choir. And I went with choir, and at that time, puberty had not hit, and I was a full-blown soprano. Everything was I didn't think much of it. I got made fun of by the girls, being like, "Why are you singing up with us?" And I'm like, "I don't know, just leave me alone." And so I went into high school, not knowing what to choose as an elective. I was definitely not going to do PE because Lord knows I'm not an athlete. And choir was the next best option the best option because I had done it in middle school and I was curious, and so Carly truly was the inspiration for the reason that for everything, for me wanting to sing. She was an incredible educator, as I'm sure you are as well, Bert. I still credit her today for all the success that I've had because she truly lit the fire in me. She's an amazing human. And so I'm very grateful to her and working on Northern for launching me into this.
Joe, that's awesome. I love hearing you say all of that. I'm so glad that Carly got to tune in this morning and be part of the conversation. She
of course
come on screen right now, but all right. Let's see. What about the So like we did watch the Nightmare Before Christmas, and you guys are doing like some actions in there, like there's hand motions. Like, are you doing that on your own, or does it say in the music, lean left here or make this face?
No, they're definitely not music directions. But we had a movement coach, and this movement.
We didn't hear that. What did you say?
A movement coach.
Oh, okay.
So we have, a choreographer, and her name is Jen, and Jen has worked on this show called The Illusionists on Broadway, and so we hired her on, and she has been our choreographer for all of our tours so far. But yeah, no, we generally were just told to groove for that one. There was a director and a producer on the beach, and we're talking about You're Welcome, right?
Well, no, I was starting with the
Nightmare.
One. Yeah, the Halloween one.
Oh no, that was just me grooving. Yeah, we were told to be creepy, and I just kind of, I naturally just have a lot of shoulder movements because I was blessed with my father's large shoulders. So I was just kind of grooving. But for You're Welcome, that was all shot on a beach called El Matador in the LA area, and we had specific directions from our director that was there. And so there was, moments where I had my solo at the beginning where I was told to sit on a specific rock and then sing, while staring at the camera and then looking off and then looking back, and how, just like any kind of movie or film. But there's a lot that goes into those productions.
You've got people in your audience here who have done like our musical productions at the school, so they're custom. yeah, they understand the language you're using, where you've got a movement coach or a choreographer, and you have to go from here to there and stuff. But I was thinking of it because when I was talking with the kids about, for those of you who are listening along, my students are working on the Nightmare Before Christmas music too. And then we were watching your video, and I noticed how expressive everybody was being. And like RJ, particularly, he really he makes some great choices and moves around a lot and stuff. So it was fun to we were guessing whether you guys were coached on certain movements or if you were just grooving on that one.
For a lot of the other parts aside from the bass part, they are singing more words than I am. I'm generally going to be doing the dums or the ahs or the oohs or the whatever.
Right.
And so when I do get a vocal line, I'm able to be more expressive. But otherwise, I have to focus in and be like, okay, I had a dum here, and then I had an ah here, and then I need to remember where that dum and ah is. And so, yeah, he let his hair down for that one. And truly embodied, I think he was Locke or something from Nightmare.
Oh,
who's calling? How dare they?
Yeah, with people interrupting, they're probably going to ring in here. I'll just try and catch it. Hello? He's here right now. I got a special guest though on a Zoom call right now. So can I clear it up with you after? All right, thanks. Bye.
Come on.
I meant to let them know that that's life at a public school. You almost never get to work straight through without interruptions.
Totally fine.
Carry on with the list here. What do you got? All right, I got a couple. Allie.
So I don't think you'll obviously do Capella forever. So do you have any plans for after?
Yeah. So because of that choir that I was talking about, I met a bunch of connections in the session singing and the voiceover world. I have credits with these people who hire us out for these movies now. And so because of those connections, I plan on doing more movies and voiceover acting. I have a couple reels that I submit every once in a while for this gig or that. And that's what I would love to do. But if I could get in another performance group, that'd be great. But I've always been a choir kid through and through. So behind the scenes has always been fun for me. As much as I love being up on a stage, and that's one of the most ethereal, experiences ever. I love, being in a group of singers. I'm not a huge solo diva as much as sometimes I come across. But yeah, that's what I would love to do.
Awesome. And Abby?
So I was wondering, how long would a typical music video take to record?
They really crack the whip on us when we're doing music videos. So I could say we shot 2 music videos in the same day for You're Welcome and Into the Unknown.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So You're Welcome was shot in the evening when the sun was setting. And that took probably about 3-4 hours. And then after that, the next music video went into the wee hours of the night, probably midnight or 1. And that was in a forest that was nearby in the hills of Hollywood. And so we shot that in probably about 3-4 hours.
Wow. How long did it take to do the vocals, though, for those 2?
The vocals, the recording process?
Yeah.
When we're in studio, it's a lot more like, all right, get in, get out.
Yeah.
And all of us are on standby as another person goes in. We don't all record at the same time. I know a lot of people think that. It's one person at a time, and then the producer mixes all of our voices together. But I generally will be in the studio for about 15, 20 minutes per song, probably 15 minutes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. It's really not too long. We come in, not memorized necessarily, because generally we sometimes get songs literally a week in advance, or if even. It's really shocking how quick we really have to truly get into our music, listen to it, figure out our parts, get in the studio, record it, and then leave it for a second. And then once we perform it, then we memorize it and get it down the path.
All right. Well, you were very generous and invited Carly and me and the boys to a concert that you guys did on your tour. We came to see you in Indiana. That was the closest thing in driving distance for us to come to.
That was one of my favorite shows because y'all showed up. My whole family went to that one. That was cool.
Yeah, that was an awesome concert. So when you're doing it in a concert, then you guys have that stuff memorized for that.
Oh yeah. And if we don't get it memorized by the first day of rehearsal, woo, you don't want to be there.
Oh boy.
No, but it's just like, we're paid to do what we do, and so we need to definitely make sure that we, fulfill our work duties. And so yeah, no, we're completely memorized. The hardest part for me specifically, I am not a dancer. So the choreo and memorization of choreo is by far going to be harder for me. And some of the singers in the group, and this goes to show you that you truly don't need a professional music theory education in order to be in these kinds of gigs. Some of the singers don't even read music. And so, yeah, some of the singers in our group don't even read music. They listen to the track because we get sent all of our individual parts. They memorize the track verbatim, and then we will, repetition, remember it and perform it. Yeah.
Now, Joe, I'm not going to call anybody out, but when you're in college for music, usually the sopranos get the worst rap for not being strong readers. So,
I don't want to call anybody out. That will be the case.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's crazy. Well, you guys did so much music at that concert. Like, it was just, you had all of that memorized, and I think one of my favorite times is when you all put down the microphones and just came to the front of the stage and sang.
That's a beautiful song to sing live. We did "Remember Me" from Coco, and we did I don't know if you're familiar, but we did. Oh, did we set down the mics? We set them down all the way, or did we hold them here like full opera singer? Or like, like this almost, but with a mic.
I remember some of it was straight up without microphones in that.
Okay.
That room.
It depended on the venue, I think. And you might have gotten the one where we set it down. But some of them, the acoustics were just total crap.
Right.
So we would hold it right here. But yeah, that one was probably the most choral arrangement that we've ever done.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's 7-part harmony. Yeah, that one was always very touching because, one, the lyrics are just, very beautiful. And then also looking at the members of our group because it has such a important message, and just watching them like tear up. And every single night, one of us were thankful for something because of that songs and the lyrics that it had. And so, yeah, that one was beautiful.
How many concerts did you do on that tour?
Oh, I think we were in the 40s. We had 40 concert dates on the National American Tour. And then for the Japan tour that we did, we had 30 dates in, I think, 15 cities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was crazy.
When you did the 40 in the States, was the concert essentially the same 40 times, just refitted to each auditorium space?
Refitted to each auditorium space is exactly what it was. Some of them, our backdrop didn't work. I think for the one that you saw, do we have the pull down screen that came down?
You had something in the back.
We had the 3 borders, right? The 3 LED screens that were behind us.
Yes.
And then did we have another one that was like a drop down LED screen that went in front of us sometimes?
I'm not remembering that. Carly, do you remember that?
Yeah, it was there.
It was there? Okay. And the only reason I bring that up is because depending on whether or not that was attachable at an auditorium, we did certain songs. Okay. And so we would do the full set for ones where we could use it, and then another one we would swap out a song because that was it helped us with a certain effect for one of our songs. I think Glory Days was actually the song. So yeah, and then occasionally our set would change because one of us might have been vocally fatigued, and so we wouldn't do a certain song because it was really hard for the soprano or our baritone to, and not specifically them, I'm just using them as examples, to hit some of those notes those days. So we would always take in consideration the singer's vocal health first and foremost, because without one of the singers, the song wouldn't be the song. All of us are a family, and we need to make sure that we're always in tip-top shape. So,
man, I love hearing that. One of Carly's and one of the conversations we've had about your group is that, you know, some of the a cappella groups you listen to, and like the sound is so edgy, and like you can't listen to more than say 3 or 4 songs, and your ears get fatigued. And I'm like, that's got to be hard vocally. But when we heard you guys at the concert, it was like they're using good technique. They're taking care of their voices. Like, it's, to somebody who listens to that song, it's noticeable.
Yeah. And each one of our singers come from something where they would have gotten vocal technique implemented. Just to go through some of them, Morgan was was on the national tour of Newsies, and Orlando was a graduate of Berklee College of Music in music production and went on The Voice season 4. RJ was also a Berklee College grad, and was on numerous voice acting gigs and televised performances. We've had so many different altos. Sojourner graduated from NYU Tisch in theater. I obviously have my opera degree. And then who am I missing? Antonio and Kaylin, the mezzo-soprano and a beatboxer, were park performers at Disney World. And so they were at this show called the Festival of the Lion King. And then Kaylin, I believe, was in Frozen for a bit. So all of us come from something musical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Then that leads easily into the next question. You know, we see the videos and everybody's really interactive and everything. And then you talked about singing the Coco song and how there was, you know, everybody, you have feelings that, you know, develop over time in your concert and everything. So somebody wants to know, are you guys all best friends?
Yeah, we're absolutely best friends, but we're a family. And that's what I like to think of it as, because families fight occasionally. And that's how it is. But the number one rule that we always have is if anybody's in any kind of argument, we address it immediately. And I'm not going to just like wash over this and be like, oh yeah, we're best friends, we're always getting along. No band in the history of ever has had a perfect record as far as being constantly, you know, right, peachy.
Right.
So we have our moments, but we also have beautiful moments. And those moments where we do get into little tiffs, we're going to address them as a family. We get together, all of us, we have a conversation, we address the issues, and then we get over them and we forgive each other. And it's, you know, that's the beauty of having a family over just having a friend that's here or there. We are always together, so we need to learn how to manage our emotions as best we can.
Yeah, really good answer. What else you guys got? Scout.
Hi.
Hi, I can see you. Where are you?
Can you see her?
There she is. She's in the corner.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the lights off so we can see you on the smart board, so that's why it looks a little dark in here.
Oh, good. All the imperfections. Cool.
Go ahead, Scout.
I was wondering, do you have any tips for when you like your voice or it's like really fatigued?
Generally, if we're super tired vocally, I'm going to vocal rest first and foremost. Do not sing, do not talk. I will be quiet most of the day. And it's hard on tour because generally we're performing back to back to back each night. Sometimes we even did double shows. Those have since been ruled out because we realize as an a cappella group, maybe don't do that. We always have throat coat on the ready. Honey is always on the ready. Ricola is always on the ready. We have humidifier, personal humidifiers. We even have this, you know, throat ease. There's a bunch of different things that are always there for us just in case. And we also have through Disney, we have a doctor that we can call at any point, and they will check in on us and make sure that we're vocally good to sing. And there's been moments where we haven't been able to sing. And so for that specific concert, we record our voices every single concert, each individually, just so in case one of us cannot sing at all. And this was like maybe 1 or 2 shows. Like I know it happened to Morgan, our soprano. Her voice was shot So they just recorded the track and then placed it in the live show. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we were all live, but her track was recorded. And so she was lip syncing to that one. But the trouble with that is that we have to blend. And so we had to constantly focus in on her part and try to blend with her as best as possible. And she would change up like her vocal inflection every show. So we had to just kind of like guess. And so there was a moment where, oh my Lord, it was a shite show, pardon my French. There was a moment where the clip or the vocal track like clipped and it just like cut out and then came back in. And so it just kind of went quiet for a second. And then we came in back with her. And so thankfully, the audience didn't really think twice about it and it was all fine. Like nobody was like, oh, okay, this is all pre-recorded, because it wasn't. It was just her track, but we were like freaking out. Oh God, I got some good tour stories. I'll tell you in a bit. But yeah. So that's what we do. That was a long-winded answer again.
Harmony,
So, like,
talk real loud.
you know I can. So, like, do you drink like a lot of water and do you drink water?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Do you drink a lot of water, and do you try to stick exclusively with water for vocal health?
1,000,000%. Yeah, no, I don't drink pop at all, really. I am constantly drinking water. I have a liter on me at all points of the day because I want to make sure I'm as vocally hydrated as possible. And especially on tour, you're going to want to be drinking water constantly. This isn't to say that we don't occasionally go have fun. You guys aren't allowed to have any fun. Stop it. But yeah, water all the time.
Kaylee from Second Hour is wondering, what was it like your first day on the job with Dcappella? Like, you show up, but how does that work?
Oh my gosh. Well,
were you scared? Would you feel like the new guy? Like, what's that like?
Well, thankfully we were all in the kind of the same shoes, so we all felt like the new guy, where we all like, oh God, we got to make connections. And so we, now, not many people know this because they don't think twice unless they're like truly an avid follower of us. This is getting into a long-winded story already, I can tell. And we had 14 members at the beginning.
Oh, really?
Us were recorded on that first album. Every album after that has just been 7 members. So it was daunting, the fact that we had to go into the studio and record with 14 new people that we had never met before. And then also in that process, finding our personal harmony.
Yeah.
And, each track only has 7 voices. So we have like an A and a B team. And so we go in at a time. So I only sing on the debut album, which everything after this has been me, on 5 or 6 of the tracks. Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, it was scary, but generally we found our groove, and it was a very family feeling right away. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, so that was really interesting, getting to know one another and finding out the quirks of one another, and just like being in awe of all the talent that was in that room, because truly everyone was so blessed with like a good skill set. So yeah. And I can go into the 14 random singers if you want me to.
There's a lot in there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I've got another one from Quaid in Second Hour. What's the highest note you've had to sing in one of the Dcappella songs?
Being the bass, I generally am not up in the stratosphere like the rest of them. But the highest note that I had to sing was on one of my solos, and that was "I'll Make a Man Out of You." I sang a G sharp 4. Which that's pretty high. I mean, if I can, it definitely took me a while to get that note, but I got it. But my highest note is probably an A4, and then my falsetto, and I have a whistle register that goes up to like C soprano high 6. And that's fun.
Wait, you've got a whistle register beyond your falsetto?
Yeah. I'm feeling a little vocally fatigued, so I'm not going to do it right now. Otherwise, I would.
Okay.
But Yes, I do. I think I've posted like Instagram stories of me like screeching, but yeah.
So we can dig in the Instagram and find it in there
It's
somewhere.
probably somewhere, yeah.
Oh, that's really fun.
I missed it.
Oh, I did a deep dive on his Instagram.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. You like for my comments. That's my proudest moment.
No. Wait, now I need to message me. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
since Ian has the floor right now, Ian, you were talking about something that you wanted to ask Joe about. Do you remember?
Yeah. So I just wanted to know, as someone who would like to pursue music and like vocal music after high school, what things can I do now to prepare myself for the professional setting?
So Ian he's a junior right now, and he does band and he does choir.
Okay.
He's going to have to step away from choir for a marking period, but then he'll be back. But
Okay.
what does he do now?
Well, one of the first things that I did during high school was get a vocal coach. I think classical and or theater technique. Personally, I'm partial to classical because I feel like you can truly find the fundamentals of singing. And that I got a vocal coach. And then I pretty much followed the footsteps of Carly 1,000,000%. I went off to college immediately after and I think obviously having that previous vocal technique from vocal lessons absolutely helped me in my audition process. But yeah, no, I went to Oakland University and got my degree there. But what would I say to prepare yourself for college? Vocal lessons. There isn't really much more than that. I feel like truly do study up on the colleges that you want to apply for. Michigan, I know, has an incredible vocal performance program if that's what you plan on going to, or if music, you want to go for band, then, or an educator, Michigan State is incredible. Oakland University has truly paved its way as being one of the top dogs in the vocal world, as well as the, education and instrumental world. So study up. I ended up getting really lucky because I didn't do a ton of research, and I also was the worst high school student. So don't follow these footsteps necessarily. But yeah, no, I went to Oakland University because Carly went there, and I was like, okay, cool, that sounds good.
No, it's a great school. There's a lot of great opportunities there. How did you do in the required keyboard classes, Joe?
Lois Kari. Did you guys have Kari?
And
You had
you.
somebody else. Who'd you have?
I had Bippy and you.
Yeah. Okay. No, we had this woman named Lois Kari, and she was an angel. And
She get after you on the keyboard?
she was hard on me. The thing is that I took 8 years of piano lessons. And so I went in thinking I was hot crap, and I was like, I got this technique down. Don't even worry about it. I know my fingerings. Everything's going to be perfect, hunky-dory. And I get in there, and she just completely rips me a new one. And she's like, no, everything you've learned so far is bad. We're going to get you up to snuff. And yeah, so no, it wasn't the best, but I did learn how to truly master fingering and my scales and my chords in a whole new way, but actually have been more beneficial than the lessons that I learned all along. So, yeah.
Good. What
as
about,
much as I was resentful.
Yeah. How did the ear training labs go for you?
Oral skills was great. I think it was very, very important because it's helped me train my ear today, especially with acapella. That was vital. Music theory was hard for me. Oh, Lord, it was hard for me. And, it's not for everyone. It's very mathematical. But I do think it is important. It truly is important because you learn the foundations of music and the reason why music moves in the way that it does and the storytelling that goes behind music. So it was hard for me, but I still use it to this day because I think it was so important.
Yeah.
Any
follow-up on that, Ian?
No, I mean, you made it pretty clear. Don't do it, eat it, and then do it, eat it.
All right. Do these things, not those things.
Yes.
All right. What else you guys got? I'll hit my list up again here. Zach from Third Hour wants to know, what's the funniest thing that's happened, like when you're on a set or you're working in the studio or something? What's the funniest thing that happened?
Okay, so I was on. Now this is This goes back to tour stories. So we were at this theater called the King's Theater in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, and the King's Theater was this gorgeous vaudeville movie house back in the 1920s, and it just had a $50 million renovation. This was like a big deal for me because I love old architecture from the 20s, and this was going to be one of our biggest venues. I think it had multiple thousand seats, and our producer and our director and our choreographer and our arranger were all sitting in the audience, as well as some friends and family were sitting in the audience. And so I'm like, oh man, big moment, I'm gonna nail it, today's gonna be awesome, whatever. And so I get up there for our first number and we do Friend Like Me. And so I like to wear very, very skinny jeans. So I was wearing these like skinny dress pants that were super tight on me. And so the first number is very choreo heavy. And we have to do this dip, like a spin and then a dip down onto our knees. And so I'm just like giving it my full go. And I like come down so hard and my pants just split open in the crotch. Oh. And so I'm in front of all these important people and my family and this poor front row audience that just got flashed. Not really, but like I had my underwear on. It was all good. But it was traumatizing because for the first 11 songs, I would intermittently go backstage to get gaff taped on my crotch seam, right, to hopefully cover it up. And this was no like, blue tape like my pants. This was like full blown silver sparkly tape. So it was obvious that something wardrobe malfunction went on down there. And so and it would constantly rip back. So for the final number before it was our second set, I was like, screw this. I need to get a permanent situation, a permanent fix for this. So I'm in the middle of singing Let It Go. Let It Go. What was we had like a duet. I can't remember the other song that was in it. Build a Snowman. And so I had to meander off stage like when they were doing their dance part, and I was just in the background. So I meandered off stage still singing. And I was like, my crotch is out. I'm like yelling like off mic. I was like, my crotch is out. It was madness. And so he's like, okay, what we're going to do is you're going to keep singing and we're going to literally change the pants off of you. And so I was singing backstage while people are like stripping me and then putting on new pants on me. And I'm like warbly because I'm like so nervous that something's going to go wrong. And I get back out on stage just for the end of the number with these new pants on, and all is well. But let's just wow. I'm saying this, the front row, like 3 of the people didn't show up the second act. I'm probably because I scarred some kid and I feel awful, but that was the funniest.
Oh, that's crazy. There was I'll tell you guys the story one day, but there was actually a concert here at our Performing Arts Center, and one of the other teachers had I had to find a stapler and help. Oh, Dave Simpson, you probably remember that one. I had to find a stapler to help out the band director before the concert started. So yeah, there's always a funny story about that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Got Sean, you got something?
I was gonna add something. Remember in Oakland when there was a wardrobe malfunction for the
Do say it again? I'm sorry.
So wait, was this when we went there last year?
Yeah.
I remember that.
So we went to Oakland University for the Chamber Choir Festival.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, in November. And Sean is recalling there was a wardrobe problem for
Alyssa.
Oh yeah. Actually, one of our singers. Yeah, like we were getting ready to go to the stage, and like her dress was completely ripped up the back, and
Oh,
I had
Lord.
a pocket full of, we'd used safety pins, right? Somebody helped her.
Yeah. Yeah. The trusty safety pin. I feel like that happened at a Port Huron Northern High School choir concert.
Many times. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And duct tape under the dress. Like we had it all. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know we had to have our fixes on the ready because Lord knows we were busting out the seams of those outfits. And then for me, I was like full baggy hair down to my neck. It was a mess. So yeah.
So, Carly, is there a memory of Joe in high school, or is there something like, was there a point where you're like, ooh, I've got somebody in the bass section, I can pick this song now, or is there a high school story to tell?
Well, I guess there's a couple cute ones. First of all, Joe was, he said he was a terrible high school student. I didn't know anything about his high school career other than when I saw him in choir. So
you got the best of me.
For me, I'm like, you're not bad. You're like the best choir student. But so a couple of things. First of all, Joe, as you can tell in his videos and stuff, has a really versatile voice. So when he was singing in choir, there were times that he was singing up in the tenor section because, like, with high school choir trying to recruit guys is always problematic. And Joe was kind of the pinch hitter. Like, you hear him sing these really low bass notes, but he was also singing in the tenor section at times in the choirs that I had. So I think that's hilarious when I listen to him now, and I'm like, like the choir director in the world would be like, "What were you thinking?" And I'm like, "No, it was cool." And when he was singing in the SC4 choir, he was singing baritone, which is very tenorish in some of the songs that we were singing. So he's got an incredibly versatile voice. One of the greatest, funniest things. I mean, Joe is he's an awesome guy, as you can tell. But it was I don't know. You were the choir president, and his vice president Taylor. They were presenting me with a thank you gift at the end of a concert, which is normal to do for, you give them a little plaque or you give them some. So they had flowers and they called me up. And of course, I'm a blathering idiot because that's how I get at concerts and stuff. And we had one more song to sing at the end of the concert. We always finished with choir alumni coming up, and we sang Katie Moran Bart's Blessing. So they presented me with a gift and said a few words and went to turn and go back and get on the risers to continue on with the concert. And Joe full bore took out like an overhead mic. I mean, it was just like it went down in like the alto section, and he's like tripping over, the audience is laughing, and and then of course he like reset it and pretend like nothing. It's all cool, right? So and then we went through the rest of the song, and to this day, my own mother remembers that. Like, she sees Joe in the Dcappella, and she's just like, "Isn't that the kid that knocked out the mic?" And I'm like, "How do you like that as a legacy?" Like, yeah, he's the guy who knocked over the mic. What's up?
It'll be written on my gravestone. Yeah. Oh gosh. No, there was some fun. Some of the most beautiful rap that I still remember to this day. Obviously those are the impressionable years, but that song was one of my favorites. In Flanders Fields was absolutely my favorite.
Yeah, we sang that just last year. That was one of our last concert.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's the best. But yeah, no, that truly inspired me to continue singing in a choir, and I still do when I'm back in the LA area, the one that I was talking about. LA Choral Lab. Look it up because their album is on Apple Music and they're incredible. If you want to hear true professional choral singing, check that out.
LA Choral Lab.
Yes, and they were the ones that are nominated for 3 Grammys. Yes.
All right.
It's so cool.
So, Joe, you were talking about you don't like to do choreography and stuff. I'm gonna hit one of these videos here, and let me see if we got the right one.
My Lord.
Not here, not there. Oh shoot, where is it? It's the
it's gone. Sorry. Oh, weird.
No, it's the one from Big Hero 6. What's that one called?
Oh, Immortals. Oh, actually, it doesn't exist. No, it's Immortals.
Oh wait, no, here it is. Here it is. 1 second. Here we go.
That was more movement than anything.
Oh, this. We love this.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
You should learn that. You learn that.
Yeah, now they want to learn that as a
You
warm-up.
should. That's fun. Yeah.
But this one here, and you guys are in a studio, and the lights keep changing colors and stuff.
Yeah, that one. That was one of my favorite music videos we shot. Here I come.
So we got a nice freeze frame, Joe. You got your arm in the air. You're doing your
Good. Yes. Just call me Beyonce. It's fine.
Yeah.
Mark.
So we were looking at that, and I was like, how much time did that? Now that's a lot of choreography compared with some of the other stuff that you guys do. Like you're actually moving around, and some of you are moving backward. It almost looks like marching band drill to me.
That one was the most choreo. It's hard to say it's choreo because it's really just movement, and then we had to do some hand movements that were our own. Yeah, I've come a long way since high school jazz hands. But no, there was some. Yeah, we had our choreographer on set that choreographed all of our movements, every single part of it. So there were specific directions that we had to follow. There was some free. What's it called? When you're just free words are hard. Anyway, freestyle. Thank you. Where we were just in a room with the color changing lights. By the way, that is the garage that if you've ever seen The Dark Knight, the one with Heath Ledger in it, that's Batman's garage.
Oh, that's where you guys were filming that day?
That's where we were filming in this like cool studio that had all multicolored ceiling lights. And so anyway, there was a freestyle point where I was just with like one camera following me around. I could do whatever the heck I did, the most embarrassing thing ever. But it was awesome because I felt like a total badass part of me. But for everything else, when we were in a line or all of us were in the same thing, it was choreographed.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool video, and it comes off really good. There's a lot of style with how you guys are presented in that video. So did Disney dress you guys for that?
Disney dressed us for that. Yeah, I was in a nice blazer, and then everybody else was in something stylish as well. But yeah, we also have our wardrobe girl. Her name's Kat Schiebel, and she is wonderful. She's one of my favorite parts of this group. So yeah.
So at any point when you guys are moving forward and backwards and crossing lines and stuff, did you back into anybody or knock anybody over?
So to make the floor look kind of wet, they had to wet it. So we were in these fancy no grip dress shoes, and
of course.
So my butt was sliding all over the place. There was numerous moments where some of the girls were like so fed up because not only did they have to wear, dress heels, it was like slick. So they were sliding all over the place, getting so angry. And there was a moment where I like almost like full face planted, but caught myself last minute. So that was the hardest part, was the fact that trying to stand.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Guys, we got like just a couple minutes left. What else we got for Joe before we wrap up? Harmony.
So for Portals, did you guys have to use like auto-tune for certain things?
Oh, is there any auto-tuning going on there?
No auto-tuning, but we did use a vocal looper. So the thing at the part where you like the that is all looped. So one person at our live shows, we would go up to our looper and we sing and then we press a button and then that would just loop throughout the entire song. So not necessarily auto-tuning, but looping. If you are familiar with Imogen Heap, she constantly implements looping into her music.
Well, the concert that we got to go to, Sojourner actually brought the looper out and did a little bit with that, and
Step in Time.
yeah, she like riffed on what she did with the looper.
That's one of my favorite numbers because she beatboxes in it, that she sings in it, and then she's looping all at the same time, and she works her magic. That's a really cool one to hear. That one's on our debut album if you want to hear it. It's cool.
Cool. What else you guys got? Avery.
What is your favorite song that you perform?
Favorite song that we perform? Once again, this depends. But if you guys are familiar with When She Loved Me from Toy Story 2, it's a very sad song.
Yeah.
But it is just beautiful, and it's in 4-part harmony, and it is gorgeous and kind of choral. But that one has to be one of my favorites to perform live because we're just standing on our squares, our platforms, and then Toy Story is playing in the background, and Jessie is like crying because her owner left her, and so we're just looking at each other, singing this beautiful song. So that's one of the most beautiful moments of the show, I think. But then, we have all this new material that I cannot wait to perform. Like we got this song called Eye to Eye from the Goofy movie, which is so bomb, and that one's gonna be super cool live. Yeah.
What's your favorite one from high school choir back in the day?
Well, I told you it was Flanders Fields, but I'm trying to think of another one in Flanders Fields. Man, soon the will be done with the troubles. That was always a fun one to do. Moses Hogan is always a blast. That.
We listened to, let's see. I got to get the right one here. Oh, no, there's the scary one from The Nun. I'm missing it here right now.
Did you listen to Corridor of the Crosses?
You mean
Corridor
this?
of Crosses, yeah.
Hey, one second here.
I think the bass is starting off in that one, right? Yeah.
Are you able to hear it?
Yeah. Now I can. It was so low, I just couldn't,
So is that? Tell us what you had to do there. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. I think you said there was 4 of you and 1 microphone or something.
4 of us, 1 microphone. All basso profundos from across the nation were pulled in for this from our Russian composer. And if you know anything about Russia, they love their basses. And so we had this very eccentric Russian composer who was like, lower, please. It was like very, very crazy. So yeah, that was just us, and the music, or excuse me, the unreleased movie was playing in the background. It was like unedited. It was like totally, unfinished. But we were singing along with the movie as it was going on. We had the full orchestra in the room. The movie was obviously muted as far as sound effects go, and then we were just singing along with it. And they had the record button on there, and we had the full orchestra and the choir going section by section in that film. And we had one guy who was doing Gregorian chant, and then he was also doing tube and throat singing. So in the background there, if you keep listening to it, like he eventually comes in with that like super gargly voice that you can associate that with.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Well, then that brings a question. I remember the days of the voice lessons in the basement, and at that time you weren't singing those notes. And then we came to a chamber choir festival at Oakland when you were in the oak chords. And on the bus ride on the way home, the boys are arguing. They're like, "No, that one guy sang," and I'm like, "No, Joe doesn't sing that. Joe has maybe like a D or a C. He's not singing like a low A below that." And so I actually emailed Mike Mitchell the next day. I was like, "Who was singing those super bass notes in the oak chords? Not Joe, is it?" He's like, "Yeah." So when did that develop, or how did you get those notes? How did you learn that?
Well, they say basses don't truly get into the full into their full range until in their mid-30s. They don't truly develop their sound until their mid-30s. And so my range has only expanded the older I've gotten. And both high and low, because I make sure to flex that muscle up top because I don't want to lose those notes. I always want to make sure all parts of my range are lubricated and good. So no, as soon as I joined choir, I got hooked up with John Paul White. And John Paul White is this massive basso profundo who's performed operas across the nation and then also internationally. And he sang with Sam Raimi and all these other crazy opera singers that are very famous. And so he truly taught me bass technique and how to ease into my sound and, perfect the lower bass register. And so I'm very thankful to him, and then also singing with Mike, because he would stretch my capabilities by challenging us in new ways. And I was always a very stubborn bass. I was always like, I can hit a high note though. Why do I always have to go down here? But it was because I was good at it. And so they would use me for those low choral parts. And then when I could flex my upper range and like my solo rep, I would. And yeah, I have to thank, once again, classical technique is so vital. And I suggest to everyone, whether it's classical and or theater, definitely get into some kind of vocal lesson, because it's so important. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Scout's got something.
Okay, so please don't hate me for asking this.
You're fine.
But is there any way you can sing something little for us?
No, I honestly, I had a little bit of a cold last night, and I still have it this morning. I knew this question was gonna come up. I feel bad, but I'm gonna say no. But feel free to.
Well, that's okay. We can follow up with something next time, and
yeah. If you wanna, I have a bunch of me singing little ditties on my Instagram, so go ahead and check that out. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm letting you down.
No, that's perfectly fine. Well, guys, can we give Joe a thanks for joining us today? And Carly and Dave,
guys.
Thanks for being in and being part of the group.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carly. Thanks, guys.
Joe, we'll let you go. This has been a real treat, and I hope you know how much we really appreciate you just taking the time to join in with us.
I know this has been so much fun. I don't really want it to end, but it has to, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, but I had a blast. That was a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks so much, Joe. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right,
Take care. Bye-bye, guys.